Hi everyone, welcome to the Raven Wolf channel. This is Anna, and I'm gonna try to read more of chapter 7. The last chapter 7 short read that I uploaded the other day, it was really short, so hopefully this time it will happen. I can read more. So let's just go ahead. Little do subordinate humans realize how close they are to the movement when the genetic game board of their reality becomes the illuminated design of the galactic destiny. Here is a picture of what we has been surprising. Slowly over the aeons at Earth's core, the iron crystal idostone of harmonic gyroscope has been emanating the resonant frequency to keep it in orbit. This resonant frequency have a particular shape or form. For form follows frequency. This is why Plato described the Earth as being like a leather ball sewed together from 12 different pieces, creating dodecahedron or 12 interfierce pentagons. Oh my gosh, these words are so hard. The vertices between the 12 pentagonal pieces define the structure of the resonant body of the Earth as the frequency emission reached to the surface. As the core resonance continuously emanates out of the surface of the Earth and beyond, an etheric geomagnetic grid comes into being, forming the foundation of the planetary light body. Attuned through the frequency pattern of the DNA infrastructure, animal migration patterns and human settlements tend to conform to the lines of the nodal points of the grid. Of course, the grid is warped and reshaped by tectonic plates activity, variable shifts in terrain and atmosphere, and solar galactically trigger fluctuation in the electromagnetic field of the planet itself. Nonetheless, are anchored at the poles, applied at times by to us unforeseen and imperceptible shifts into the galactic program. The continuously pulsation of the grid slowly shapes the infrastructure of the planetary light body. Now, just as the DNA received a counterspin, technology extruding impulses as the planetary enter the 5,200-ton synchronization beam. Excuse me. So the resonant core of the Earth also received an impulse amounting to the jacket up intensification of frequency. The nodal pathway of the terrestrial grid that correspond to the resonance structure of the core became extra active, corresponding to the more excited vibratory activity of the human DNA infrastructure. The restlessness of the human organism that is manifesting in shipping lanes, causeways, silk routes, imperial walls, railroad tracks, freeways, airways, and a radon amplified and eventually obscure the continuous pulsation of the grid. At nodal points, templates, ziggurats, pyramids, cathedrals, pagodes, mosques, palaces, houses of parliament, airports, and power plants were erected, ultimately with little conscious regard for the Earth's invisible nexus. As the final thrust into artificially, the global industrial revolution swung into high gear at the resonance frequency of the core of the Earth intensifies to an unprecedented degree. What this intensification of frequency points to is an eminent stabilization at the higher frequency through a counterspin movement that occurs just before it exists from the synchronization beam. Indeed, the feedback signals to prepare for the counterspin, the spin away from history, corresponding to the return of the post-history, have already been received in the form of a nuclear radioactivity, industrial atmospheric disturbance, and random electromagnetic bombardment. If you spin an arc, a specific constructed form that shapes a simple ship hull, clockwise, it will continually spinning until it stops. But if you spin in counterclockwise, it will slowly and ungraciously come to a halt, and then begin spinning clockwise. The Earth's passage through the synchronization beam is analogous to the counterclockwise spin. As the counterclockwise spin comes to a halt, there is an increase in the wobble. A shake-up effect occurs. Then follow a pulse. The more harmonically congruent clockwise spin commences. So we arrive at the moment when technology becomes transformation. This is initially experienced as a crisis to which the dominant peregrine powers are blinded. Through the present, scientifically, materialistic power holders believe that the world is the way it is because they had made it so. And actually, they're playing out roles specified by the harmonic wave phase of which the present era is functioning. The belief they hold about the world, the dominant belief subscribed to and acceptance by the government institutions of the present world order, define the prevailing paradigm. Belief in this paradigm, the scientific materialistic world view can be described as a mental house. As we saw in chapter 6, the foundation of the current mental house were laid in the 17th century during the initial cartoons of the 12th Bactoons. By 1756, the walls of the mental house, belief in technological process and industrial democracy began to be erected. Between 1874 and 1953, the electromagnetic roof of the current mental house was in place. Finally, in between 1953 and the present moment, the era of launching of humankind and its artificially sensory intelligence probes into outer space, the mental house began in its internal dissolution. In this regard, it should be recalled that the nation paradigm shift was first introduced by Thomas Kuhn in 1964. And here's some pictures. Okay. Corresponding to this development frame in the climax in this counterspin of the Earth's resonance. The signal for this climax was first received in 1945 with the detonation of atomic weapons. As a member of a solid galactic order, Earth response was first manifest in the UFO activity, which by 1947 could no longer be ignored. Without denying the psychic validity of many people who had encounters of the third kind, let us define UFOs as unified field organizers. An intelligence release of galactically programmed, psychically active, radiant energy simultaneously attracted to and animated by Earth's resonant etheric body. They are referred to on-field field organizers because they are manifestations of Earth's intrinsically unified resonance field. Since this field is actually in a solar galactic resonance, UFOs also operate in conjunctions with the harmonics of this field. That's very interesting. In fact, their operations are completely a function of the resonant harmonics. Thus, a rapid shift in directions attributed to the UFOs are due to the shifts of the harmonic overtone alignment. Hold on one second. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. My dog wanted to go outside. Okay, so harmonic overtone alignment. Following the discovery of DNA and the detection of the radiation belts in the 1953 and the vertical of tectonic plates in 1964, the internal dissolution of the current mental house had begun. All these discoveries, DNA, radiation belt, tectonic plates, were necessary for the beginning of understanding of the coming paradigm, the new mental house, and the unified resonance Earth. In the meantime, UFOs continued to accompany the era of massive nuclear testing, and with a radar, television, radio, and microwave radiation, the overall electromagnetic field of the planet entered a period of heightened dissonance. The etheric or light body of the planet intensifies by this bombardment, increased its signals to the morphogenic field. In the wake of these signals came renewed interest in psychic phenomena, UFOs, psychedelic drugs, interspecies communication, and the ecology movement. The counter-response of the dissolving mental house was space exploration, the extension of the materialism acquisitive paradigm into the outer space. The great era of space exploration, the conquest of space, began with the moon landing in July 17, 1969, followed probes to Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and finally, by January 24, 1986, Uranus. Two major inexplicable presented themselves through these probes. The one was the finding of the original suppressed so-called face on Mars on July 25, 1976, and the other the highly irregular markings of the uranium moon, Miranda, as well as the solar-oriented polar tilt in the incredible intense and erratic electromagnetic field of Uranus. While this finding presented paradigms defining enigmas to the frame of the cultural mental house, space technology itself was vaunted as the pinnacle of science achievements. Thus, it was particularly noteworthy the 4 days following the Voyager flight by Uranus on that's my birthday. January 28, 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded some 33 seconds following by takeoff. While following up, investigations tried to pinpoint the technological failure. Contributed to the Challenger disaster. The next three NASA space launchings all explode just following takeoff. As if were not enough, the European space launch Ariane also exploded shortly after takeoff. This was all in the period between late January and mid-May of 1986. What's going on? In resonance with the shifting foundation of the tectonic plates and oversaturated with electromagnetic dissonance, the roof of the current mental house had literally begun to collapse. Like fleas picked off by a child in impish concentration, the space probes were flicked from their trajectories by what? The answer is by erratically triggered waves of dissonance set off by unwitting human desire to control and jam the electromagnetic fields. The Chernobyl nuclear disaster occurring in April 25th through the 26th of 1986, and the busing of the Brazilian Air Force by 13 UFOs on May 23rd of 1986 were further resonant field signals announcing the simultaneous failures and limits of technology and the rapid disintegration of the current mental house. Speaking with the voice of the events whose origins and effects escape the modern consciousness, the resonant core of the earth, attuned to the galactic harmonic, is redefined for a harmonic convergence, the point at which the counterspin of history finally comes to momentary halt, and the still imperceptible spin of post-history commences. By the time these words are read publicly, the event, harmonic coverage, will be but a few months away. Over the events of shattering, thought-provocation nature shall have recently occurred, demonstrating that not only the roof but even the walls of the current mental house are in shambles. Wow, that's very interesting because I think what he's talking here is actually happening right now. The event, the harmonic convergence, is happening now. Yeah, I think, at least, that's my opinion. Shattering through provoking nature should recently mental house are in shambles. All that will be left is the dissolution of the foundations, the bedrock of scientific materialism that asserts the uniqueness and superiority of man in the universe. Meanwhile, the counter effect of the new mental house, operating through the intensified resonant grid of the Earth's light body, for the first time will become manifest as the network thrust towards an unified movement of collective synchronization, a harmonic convergence. Through the transnation, grassroots infiltrated a new mental house, and in collaboration with a cooperative global media conglomerate, a radio co-op, increasing numbers of humans are experiencing the reality of the global brain. The action of the local collectives, art, sports, operating through attunement to the knowledge that purpose is not an individual possession, will in all actually be stringing bread of unifying intention upon the planetary grid system. And then it shall occur. The harmonic convergence, the exponential acceleration of the wave harmonic of history as is based into a movement on unprecedented synchronization, like the shuttle of the loom shifting lightning speed. The resonant frequency of the earth grid will shift. In this shift, the foundation of the mental house imprinted with the name of Descartes, Newton, Galileo, and Copernicus will dissolve, rippling ever more deeply through the consciousness of an aroused minority of a human race, will be the realization of a larger resonance attractive force, a super-sensible synthesis of mind and nature, hitherto undreamed of, will dawn. The experience of reality as an unifying matrix, as synesthetic blending of senses brought through light, sound, sensory experience, will provide the first vibratory layers of the foundation of the new mental house. Wow, that's badass. So here's some pictures. Let's see what it says on the bottom. It's the double helix pattern loom of the Maya with 64 unit crossover polarity zone. So I think I'm gonna end it there. And that was a little better. It started a little tough, but whatever. It is what it is. So that was chapter 7. I guess this is part 3. And then, yeah, we're just gonna keep going. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you guys later in Lakesh. Bye, you guys.